Good morning. We're going to get started this morning with Commissioners Court, and I'm going to call this meeting to order and ask that you please rise with a pledge of allegiance to the United States of America and to our Texas flags. And I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Good morning, Judge.
Morning. Okay, it's 8:39, and the date is January the 12th, 2022. We are in Commissioner's Courtroom this morning, which is located at 901 North Leopard, inside the Nueces County Courthouse, and I do certify that all commissioners are present and a quorum has been established. I'll move to public comments at this time and ask if we have a roster this morning. I see a couple people. And once we get that roster, and also welcome those online, if you wish to make a public comment, we use the virtual icon of a hand to indicate that that you would like to provide us a comment online. Here comes Teresa. Thank you. And it's just one person, and I do recognize her and ask that all recognize our district clerk, Miss Ann Lorenzen, and invite her to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. Judge Canales and Commissioners Court, good morning. The last time I made a public comment, it was to make a presentation to you with two shadow boxes sent to us by co-file, and it contained two volumes, Volume A and Volume B of the court minutes and indexes for the 28th District Court that have been preserved and are now safely ensconced in some binders that will keep it safe from fire, wind, hurricane, whatever. And I just recently received a third shadow box with Volume C of those court minutes and indexes, and I would like to present it and give it to Judge Canales and Commissioners Court for their continued support of my preservation project.
Fantastic. Beautiful, Anne. Really beautiful. If everybody would like to stand up, take a quick look. I know we're blocked a little bit by our fantastic.
We were able to find the third volume in. You can see it's in pretty bad shape, and now it's preserved and taken care of in one of these binders in my office.
Very good.
This is for you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Good job.
I'm going to go ahead and ask.
And Connie and I think it should go right there.
Okay, I was going to say, I was going to ask if anyone had any good suggestions, and we'll move it to the side. And normally we would take a big picture and hug each
all
other,
right.
but what we're going to do is take a rain check on the hug
Okay.
and the photo, if that's okay.
That's fine.
We'll invite
That's fine.
everybody back so that we can do this properly when we're not in this big old surge that we're in. But
Right,
just
right.
beautiful, Ann. Thank you so
You're very
much.
welcome.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, my only public comment is just to remind everybody that this Saturday is our junior livestock show, and it's going to be just terrific. There are going to be amazing displays of our over 2,000 participants that come in from all areas of Nueces County to show their animals and also their ag projects, which are pretty amazing. It's also a big homemaking show, and photography has already been judged. There's a carnival out there. It's just an incredible family-driven event. And we want to have everybody come enjoy, but be super safe. And so please, if you could, we encourage everybody to, do everything you've been doing in your family when you're participating in a public event. But it's very special, and you can take turns watching it on television. You can have a virtual experience if you think that that's best for you and your family. So again, the Junior Livestock Show, we just salute all the volunteers, the kids, and particularly all the sponsors that make it possible so that these kids can earn their scholarship money for college. Okay, with that, I'll close public comment, seeing that we have no further comment, and move right into our agenda. There are 3 agenda items, and they are also listed in the executive session as well on items number 1 and 3. Let me double check that. Items number 1 and 3 are also reflected inside our executive session, but I think it might be helpful for the public, Jenny, if we just at least announce them. We'll announce what it is that we're talking about, and then if you have any comments that you can make just to give an update to the folks watching, the people in the audience, as to what happened or transpired last night. It's my understanding that there was a decision made by the city, and it was made around 8 o'clock last night. I found out from, not an official source, but from a reporter. But I think it'd be best if you articulate that. So I'll just start with item number 1, which is to discuss and consider the Third Amendment to the Reformed Cooperative Agreement with the City of Corpus Christi regarding an extension of city's expressed withdrawal from the Corpus Christi Nueces County Public Health District, and that's going to be discussed in executive session, and then we'll come back out. But as to number 2, discuss and consider adopting a response to the outcome of the City of Corpus Christi City Council meeting yesterday, Tuesday, January 11th, related to the Corpus Christi Nueces County Public Health District. And then, of course, the agenda item does call for discussing considering a plan for the continued provision of public health by the county. But maybe you could, at this point, just give us an update. And then item number 3, I would ask for an update as well, but let's do 2 first.
Last night around 8 o'clock, the city council came out of their executive session. They had other things first, but around 8 o'clock, they did pass a vote to extend for 30 days. And I believe that is 30 days past the January 18th initial expressed withdrawal date of the city from the health district. I am expecting a document any moment that will memorialize that for the court to consider.
Okay, but we don't have that right now.
We do not.
Okay, in light of the fact that we're waiting for it, and that's really the only update that you can provide?
Yes.
Okay,
So Judge, my thought there would be just, we didn't have anything before when we voted on the deadline. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do in the, executive session, but we all need some deadline to start with. I would make a motion to accept the deadline and then go work on the rest of the stuff and see if we can get anywhere on it
The 30 days?
Second.
for the 30 days, just to accept the recommendation.
well, I think,
Just to get
we
something.
need to have a document to look at, and we need to have a legal discussion first as to what the effect of that is. So can take your motion and hold on it until after executive session.
Judge, let me clarify, because that's a good point. My motion would be to accept the 30-day extension,
Yeah,
reserving all rights, similar to the same motion that I made before, reserving all rights.
fair enough.
And that being the motion for today, with the understanding that we still need to go in the back room and
Yes,
work
sir.
on things. But, like I say, we have to have some extension, so, let's get something going. That would be,
I understand. I think that's the way you phrased it, and sort of
that good, Lorenzo?
in
Yeah, with my
in that
reservation.
motion,
Reservation of all rights, so.
reservation of all rights. And in other words, for the average, I guess, person listening to us and maybe not having heard us last time, I'll call for discussion to kind of expand upon it. So Commissioner Chesney's motion,
I second that.
yes, we heard you. second Lorenzo, please, by Commissioner Hernandez. The motion is look, the idea here is that January 18th is untenable, right? Because it's next week. And the city has said, hey, we're going to move that to, what is our new date?
February 17th, I believe.
February 17th, and we'll have lots of good discussions about that in the back room. But as for now, we all agree that January 18th is not good, and that February 17th is 30 days later, and we're going to vote to still preserve all our rights in that process. So that's the motion, and we're going to discuss all of our legal positioning here afterwards.
Can I judge, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
one point of clarification, the reason I'm distinguishing this from whatever we do in the back room, because that would need to be, in my opinion, if we come up with something even today, that would be a second motion that we wouldn't want to tie the first motion to, that we would just want to have a clean, get this one done, and then,
I totally understand,
side.
and actually, I concur with that. My only concern is that without a document, I got to be able to say that we're
Well, no,
concurring.
I'm not saying accept their document. My motion is just to accept their motion. So we could make the motion contingent upon legal review, making sure it's legally sufficient, so like we do a lot of times, but I just think we need to get this one done and over so that we have an extension, and then,
Right.
they voted
No,
on
no,
something.
no, listen,
I just want to get an extension. I know
I
you do
hear
too.
you. I'm with you on the, we want to make sure that January 18th is not the date, and I think all of us want that. I just think there needs to be some real dialogue as to figuring out how to convey that, because the last time we did this, they completely misinterpreted, and we just need to make sure that they catch that the right way this time. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, Judge, I would
Vote on
just,
the motion?
I'd like to just vote on that part of it,
Yeah.
and then, like I
Me
said, we
too.
got, who knows what will come out of today, if anything. I mean, they didn't come, and I think they got in the same boat. They didn't, some of them hadn't seen it, so they did the same thing we did last week. They took a break and said, we need to go see it. That's fine.
Yeah.
We took our week, but I mean, I just,
The only thing, and I know that you and I understand exactly what you said about preserving all rights, but I think what happens is the average person doesn't. So in this discussion, let me just see if I can have a good conversation with you about, and the rest of the court, about really what that means.
sure.
And what it means to me, but I'm going to have you, chime in here.
Sure.
What it means to me is that we're going to keep negotiating as to what the court's will was, which was to keep the district together and create a transition that is a contract for the city to provide services. My only concern is, and again, it's all hearsay, because I had a reporter tell me more this morning, is that it seems that the city manager has articulated that if we don't accept these terms, that they're going to withdraw still, that withdrawal, and that we accept this this February deadline as some effective date of transition. And I just want to be on the record to say, that's not what this is. What this is an opportunity to say that January 18th date that you proposed to withdraw is now February 17th.
Or 18th. I
Or
think they
18th,
said February.
whatever it is.
30, it was 30 days.
And nothing else changes. It's just your decision to withdraw is from here to here. And there's still way too much for us to talk about. So please don't interpret this, city manager, as we agree with a transition happening on that day. The only thing we agree is that you've changed your mind from January 18th to February 18th on when you want to withdraw.
Yeah, and I think
Is
that's.
that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think their motion was simply just to continue negotiations and extend the ability to
Yeah.
negotiate with nobody committing to anything, them or us, until, we
And-
have some more time to negotiate. So I think it's
And
a
you
very
and I agree.
simple. Right. No,
You and I agree, but his video that he put out does not say that,
Well,
and
but
that's
that-
my concern.
And the council changed it, and so now it's in the form of a
You
motion.
feel,
They
you feel that
voted.
council changed that?
The council, well, I mean, the council,
I want to,
well, his
I
video,
want
I
to
don't
know
want to comment on
that.
his video.
That's
There's a
what
lot
I,
of well, I don't know what you're talking about on his video, so I watched the entire video, but all I know is I go on what council action is and
I
commissioner court
agree.
action is,
I'm
right?
100%.
So the council action was last night, was to vote to extend, to simply negotiate with no commitment from them
I'm
and no
good with
commitment
that.
from us
But
on
you've seen
anything
it?
other than the extension.
Jenny, can you, I
and I
want to
gotta-
believe everything he just said. Does that sound right? Because if it is, then that's good.
Well, let me just tell you, I got a courtesy call from Councilman Martinez last night as he
Oh.
was leaving the courthouse to tell me that's what they did.
So you, okay, well,
That's-
then we feel
that's
good
from-
about
Well,
that.
that's from the
And I
mouth of, I
have
think, the man
received
who
a
made the
document.
motion. You know, so
I feel good about that,
that's-
if that's what you can tell the court.
that's what Councilman Martinez told me last night.
Jenny?
And
do
I'm
you-
having that document brought to, so that it can be reviewed.
Okay.
So, again,
So I'll do a
subject
subject
to-
to.
right.
All right? How's that? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Lorenzo, that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in there, but I think you, if you have any concerns, maybe you can roll back the tape. But of course, that magic language is that preservation of rights and subject to it being just as we said, which is, you know, a little bit of a 30-day change. Okay, there's another, before we go to executive session, there's another piece of this pie that has to do with, well, it's really not, it's a piece of the pie. It's a piece of our pie in the agenda. It has to do with ARPA premium pay allocation for county employees, and although we're going to discuss it in executive session, it's item number 3. And I just wanted to lay it out here for the public so that if you're a county employee, you may say, what the heck is this? So I just want to lay this out a little bit. Did everybody receive a copy of the letter from the Board of Judges, for starters? If not, let's pause. Okay, no.
Well, and you know,
Okay.
Judge, I might have, but I thought this was just,
It-
all we were doing was
it
health
was.
districts, so I did not pull it up probably.
So
because
this
it
is
was
just an
probably attached
this
and-
was
okay.
an emergency action. Let me just deal with it then in executive session so that we can get caught up. And then will be our will or choice to bring
You know,
it back up
I-
again.
I just think since none of us probably saw it, probably till late, if we saw it. I just want to table this item till we actually really get to look at the letter and discuss everything that.
Well, we're going to get a
you know.
chance to do that in executive session. I don't want to table an emergency action that judges have given to us without at least
What's the
discussing
emergency?
it.
What's the emergency?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Could someone
in-
send me the letter that says
Why
what
why
the,
don't we wait to see,
Would that be- and I
why don't
apologize
we
for
do it
saying
in
that.
executive session then? Okay?
is it an executive session?
Item?
I'm not trying to, I
Yes,
don't know, I don't,
it
I'm
is.
asking, I
It
don't know
is.
what the emergency is.
So so it has to
Don't
do
you-
with the court's decision to close the courthouse for trials for 3 weeks and how that legally affects their employees as it applies to premium pay because of the legality or / eligibility of premium pay as it applies to people who are not working in the courthouse. Or at their job, I should say, not all jobs in the county and the courthouse. And so after the Board of Judges meeting, we received this from the Board of Judges. It does have a formal resolution. It is a timely situation because of, the fact is, it's a Wednesday today? I'm all confused. It's a
Yeah,
Wednesday
I think so.
today.
You're right.
So they have been working the 10th, 11th, and 12th from the decision that was made the previous Friday. And time is of the essence so that they can inform their employees of what the status is. Let me explain further when we get to executive session, but the nature of the emergency is the legality of eligibility for ARP and premium pay for those not working at the county courthouse. It's also the status of our Board of Judges to cancel trials for 3 weeks due to the Omicron surge, which we support in emergency management, and how those two relate to the court's directive on the 10% premium pay.
So do we have a recommendation today from
We do.
Haggerty, from
Oh.
Collier Johnson Woods? Have we vetted all that through
So-
them? Because that,
So here's number one, on Haggerty, and Johnson Woods, no. But I don't think even the
Collier.
auditor has had a chance to discuss it. So that's the whole standpoint of being able to,
No, actually, we have a meeting. I have a meeting yesterday, and I'm aware that the auditor had a meeting with the CPA firm. We look into this, and she recommended as well to have like further analysis before making any decisions about this.
right, and there's no decisions that, you just have to be able to read the acceptance of this letter and understand what the issue is, so that you can give a directive.
So we won't,
Can we
but
just-
we can't give a
can we
directive
still
if we
table
don't.
it? We're not gonna make any decision?
I would not table it until you hear why the judges
I know,
want
we can table
to,
for discussion. We're not gonna make a decision, you said.
right,
So why
but
can't
when we
just table
table,
it and
No, no,
discuss?
we could still have the executive,
let's have the executive discussion,
I'm saying,
and
but-
then we can table it. I don't see that a decision necessarily has to be made today, but we need to at least understand what
All right.
what the remedy might be for the
I'm
judges.
good with tabling it, but I'm also good with, if you
Yeah,
want to
I
have
think
an
it can be
executive,
both.
if you feel like it needs to go to executive session.
Yeah.
I'm good with that, but obviously with the uncertainty coming from the Collier
Yeah.
Johnson, then I don't think we can make a decision today.
I don't think the
Okay.
judges need that. I
That's
think they
fine.
need us to be able to provide some directives for their employees,
Okay.
okay? Well, gosh, it's a limited menu today, and it's gonna be basically health and this one issue with ARPA. And, so if you'll give us the opportunity to go into executive session, and, I do recognize that we have some resources in the room, and before I go into executive sessions, I just want to recognize them. First, even though you met him the last time, and this is how we've been burning, as they say, the midnight oil. I think it's like the third time I see him this week only, but please recognize Louis Ray, our Emergency Management Coordinator. As they say, once you get to see him a lot of times, he'll just be a fixture and you go, oh yeah, that's Louis. But just remember, he's your new Emergency Management Coordinator in the back of the room. And Health Director from the county, Louis Wilmot. And Louis is here to be a resource as we get into maybe some discussions that could be important or impactful. Just know that he's here to help provide that information. I myself asked him to come because I'm still like scratching my head on this 1115 waiver. And I really wanted him to help me understand its separation, right? I know in the past it's been separated, so I'm anxious to hear about that. And then also recognizing Chief Sabata, thank you for being here this morning, and City of Robstown. So with that, let me say the magic language, and I'll ask everyone, if you're visiting from out of jurisdiction, please feel free to use my office to be comfortable while the court maintains this executive session. I'm giving notice at this time that we are going into executive session. We're authorized to do so under the provisions of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. We also do this in accordance with the authority of the Vernon's Texas Code Sections 551, 071, 072, 734, 745, 76, 86, and 87. And the Commissioners Court will hold an executive session to consult with our attorney, including matters relating to litigation, real property, gifts, personnel, termination, county advisory bodies, security devices, economic development, or any other matter that may be discussed in executive session, particularly the ones that we've noticed here today. Upon completion of the executive session, we will come back into open session as a Commissioners Court, take any action as appropriate on items discussed in executive session. The time for the clerk is 9:01 a.m. We'll clear the courtroom. We'll take down the mics off the video. For those of you at home, we'll come back shortly. And for the clerk, give us a little bit. We'll text you. And I'm just going to go grab coffee for those of you in the courtroom and be right back. Okay. We are back from executive session, and it's 12:08 p.m. And there's several items that we discuss. I'm going to take them in reverse order. There was a motion on the floor before we went into executive session on item number 3 in the regular, item 2A3 on the regular agenda, and that's discussing the emergency letter request from the Board of Judges regarding ARPA premium pay for county employees, and we were able to communicate with the judge, and he is fine with us tabling it so that we can continue to discuss the matter. And this is going to be an important matter to continue to figure out how to make certain that the pay that the county employees have been designated to receive is not only comports with the federal law, the eligibility of ARPA, but also comports with the spirit of what we're trying to do, which is to provide premium pay for our employees for a certain amount of time. So I think we have some work to do on that.
Judge,
And
I
I think there was a motion and a second
I would
already.
make a motion to table, and again, I still have not received that letter, so if there is a letter, please provide it. Thank you.
Right.
I think Judge Stith, I didn't get to add, he wants to, there was a letter given to me, but he wants to fine tune it, and so he's gonna remodel it and get it back to us. Okay? So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Table to this, the next court, aye they, just the next court date, regular court date.
Not Friday.
And the next item is discuss and, oh, I'm so sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then the next one is item number, we really took care of the item number 2, which is the discuss and consider adopting a response to the outcome.
Correct.
And so I feel like we've done that, Lorenzo. And now I just move to item number 1, which is discuss and consider the third amendment to the reformed cooperative agreement with the city of Corpus Christi regarding an extension. Oh, wait a second, it's backwards.
No,
Was I
no,
backwards?
I think that's right. The response was number 2.
You're right.
You're right.
So I was, yeah, I'm sorry. Let me go backwards for the record. So on the first one, it was the expressed withdrawal and the date. We've already dealt with that. And now I'm discussing and responding to the outcome of the City of Corpus Christi council meeting. You know, they're both really interactive.
Yeah.
The way it's worded is very confusing. But look, I think we understand that when it comes to the date, the court has agreed that we kick January 18th out and replace it with February 17th in, and we do so with preserving all rights. I think that we've already voted on that.
That's correct.
Now we're going to talk about the actual document itself that we've been working on for weeks, and it's called the Third Amendment to the Reformed Cooperative Agreement to operate a public health district. It's still in draft form, and the court has a motion to direct the county attorney to make some changes. And go ahead, Commissioner Chesney.
Judge, I would like to make a motion to accept the proposal subject to some changes as directed to, by the court to the county attorney.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second by Gonzalez, and I'll call for discussion. And are there any,
Just brief, Judge. I just wanted to say in general terms, because I think we need to make sure that the public understands that some of these have to be continued to be negotiated in the back in the executive session, and that's not because we're not trying to be transparent, it's simply because when you're negotiating, you have to be able to have discussions on those negotiations that are candid, so you don't, I guess, give away your position, for lack of a better term. That said, I feel very confident that these changes are not changes that are super significant. That's my feeling. That I don't know if that's the rest of the court's feeling, but that's my feeling, that they're not super significant, and that the city should look at these as reasonable suggestions, and some of them are simply clarifications and so forth. And I think they will be looked upon still within the spirit of the original motion, which was that this court voted on to give total control of the health district to the city, and that the county would remain in the health district as a non-voting member, for lack of a better term. And that's not exactly the way to say it, but that's my way of saying it in life. So that's just my discussion. There was a lengthy discussion in the back on lots of different points. We went through it with the county attorney. I think she has a good feeling of what the consensus of the court wants to do in regards to this. I think it's also important to reflect that this is a working document. It is a draft. It is not a final piece of work, because until we negotiate the final points, you can't get to that. So I think we have done this process in the manner in which it was dictated in regards to when we got notice, and we've worked on it. We spent a lot of time on it. I know every member of this court and the county attorney and staff have worked really hard on this from the county side to get it to a point where we're at. I hope that we can get it done by the 17th? I do. Do I think that's possible? I do. I think some of it's going to be dependent on what the city council does, because I didn't get a feel yesterday for where the council stands on the whole thing, because they only voted to extend, which I appreciate that, but they also felt like they needed more time to digest it, just like we did a week ago when we postponed this meeting for a week. And so that's also, I think, a reasonable request. But to continue to move this forward, I think it is important that we send this back with direction to the county attorney so that the city knows that we are in agreement in general concept, and we continue to be. We just have some changes that we're requesting that I don't think in any way, shape, or form are offensive or difficult to do. So that's
Just one clarification. The short document received today is the third amendment, which is the extension. The document that I will be preparing or amending will then be the fourth amendment.
correct. If I need to,
That's right, I said third, that was my
oh,
mistake.
okay, I didn't hear that, sorry.
It needs to be
right.
reformed to the fourth
Fair enough.
to cooperate with the,
Right, third amendment was approved, fourth
collaborate.
amendment would be forthcoming depending on the city's response.
and is there anybody else that wants to say anything?
Do,
Go ahead.
I just want to thank Jenny for the work you're doing, Jenny. I really appreciate your work, and remind the city and as well as us that at the end of the day, you know, we got to make sure that we're trying to serve everybody in this community, you know, the inner city, the western area, that we everybody, even in the eastern area with Port Aransas, but we just need to, when it comes to the table, we've got to make sure that that's our mission, you know, to continue to provide those services that we have been providing, and even probably better if we can. So I just want to thank the negotiation team for hopefully continuing, keeping that in mind, and, you know, and also moving forward with this thing, and hopefully we can come out at the end of the day with a good project here, a good document. Thank you.
Jeannie, I want to thank you as well. I know you worked very hard for it. You put some time into it. So I just want to say thank you for your hard work.
Just want to let the public know that, you know, we're taking every point that's been made and counter-made between us and the city to heart. We know that whatever decision or whatever agreements we make impact employees, impact the services that are provided, impact public health. And so there's going to be back and forth on that. So we are, I don't think, I hope that we are moving every day closer to a final agreement. But this is still something that we're going to go back and forth on major issues that we may not agree with totally. I hope that we can find compromise one day, and I think that there's a lot of questions that are being asked, so that are being required to being asked in closed session. But I believe that as we continue to move forward, we'll show the community that we are concerned about the needs that are being met in the city of Corpus Christi, the balance of what they feel they're putting in financially, but also the requirements that are put on us by the state as a county to have responsibilities to the entire county, and to especially those in the rural areas of the county who are traditionally underserved by services. So that's a real concern to me, and I believe it is to the court. And so I think as we get closer, we will find a solution. But this is by no way an end or any kind of agreement that we have found every point to be in solidarity with the city. I think there's still a lot to go back and forth, and I hope that the city takes that in consideration and understands that there'll still be probably still some plenty of back and forth. And until every single issue is resolved, I think we owe it to the community to have that discussion and both bodies to be able to decide, and then continue through our attorneys to try to find a solution. So we are looking, we are advocating, we are making sure that all these different areas are going to be addressed adequately and responsibly. So, thank you.
So I think those are good comments from the whole court that you've just heard, and my following comments are as follows. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge that I appreciate how the court really tries, and you don't get a chance to see this, but at least the majority of the court tries behind the scenes, particularly as we talk to our lawyers in executive session and create these negotiation discussions, to ask the questions, why do you feel this way? How can we maybe come up with some compromise language? And the last two sessions, Commissioner Chesney has done that, and he's even done it twice in motions. And so I am acknowledging that.
Thank you.
It's appreciated. And so I want you to know that I see things differently, and that's okay. That's part of democracy, and it's part of the process. And the reason I see things differently is because I have, just like each of us here brings a different experience and a different lens to the scenario. And I am truly affected in a serious way because of this public health emergency we've been dealing with for 2.5 years. My office, both as a county judge, from the administrative point of view, from my role right here, as well as my role in emergency management, has allowed me to work hand in hand with public health since before January 24th, 2020. And because of that special and unique relationship, I believe that the document that we're working on is the most important document for the next few years in particular, as we try to continue to battle this particular virus, which has caused this particular health emergency. Some of the changes have been characterized as keeping with the framework or the spirit, and they don't seem too monumental to some, and to others, they seem at least material. And so what I want to tell you and tell those viewing audience is that it matters to me every and, then, and but. Every period, every apostrophe, and every comma could have significance when it comes to our county employees. And while I don't have the power to grant the concept of keeping all of their jobs, I wish I did. I wish to God I did, because that is what we ought to be working towards in this public health emergency, is keeping those people there that have been working day in and day out, working for you. And any document that doesn't give us that surety is not a document I can support in my heart. The same with grants. The grants that we've been given, that we worked so hard to procure over these last 2.5 years, are ones that should be cherished, valued, and quite frankly, strengthened. The services we have now come to understand need more than, not less than. On this, the city and the county, in my mind, agree wholeheartedly. It's not about doing what we can, it's about doing more than what we have been doing in the past. I know that there are some specifics that remain, and we can agree as a court that the framework addresses those specifics, and we've directed the county attorney to strengthen the language. And so you might say, well, why will you vote no here momentarily? I vote no, not because I don't appreciate what has been done over the last few hours behind closed doors in order to get a better framework to direct the county attorney to go and represent the commissioner's court. I vote no because I believe that there is too much missing still, too much that's not addressed. The specifics matter, and the grants and the people matter. And while we have done a good job of creating some framework, this rushed process does not serve our public, and it does not serve public health. I can tell you this, that all of us here serve parts of the community that are super vulnerable. There's really not one of us that doesn't have a vulnerable community. Some of us represent areas that are more vulnerable than others on all the major healthcare indexes. Those need to be cared for in a very particular manner. So again, what Commissioner Chesney says, I endorse in that respect of we're not done. We believe that there's a framework here that can provide a good blueprint, but I don't believe that the public is served by the lack of specificity and the lack of guidance on some of the issues that are the most important, particularly, again, the grants, the lab, and the employees. And I think that we will work hard to get us to a place where we can say, this agreement is good for the public. And I know that everybody here is committed to that. I wish that, and I'm going to call for more dialogue between the parties. A county attorney that is working for the Commissioner's Court is a good thing, but it's even better when public health is addressing a public health document, and that has not been done. And I would like to also suggest that the jurisdictions that are affected need to be brought to the table. It's almost like talking about somebody when they're standing right in front of you suffering and ignoring them. I do believe that we're going to continue doing all the things we're doing this week and next week, all the way up to this date, this new date that we've created. And I also want the city to reconsider their position on withdrawal. Withdrawal dissolves a district, and it's not good for any of us. And so I'm asking for an opportunity to come to terms so that we can have better negotiations going forward. Today's framework and motion begins, again, that process. But again, I had to really think before we came right back into court, because nothing would please me more than to send the signal to all of you listening that I can support the work that we did behind closed doors the past few hours. And while I believe much of it represents guidance that I played a contributing part in, overall, this does not address the needs of public health at this time during a public health emergency in its entirety. It's got some of it, but not all of it. And I just can't look people in the eye and say that I'm for a document that's not specific enough and does not create all the protections that our people need. I would ask that you also keep in mind what Commissioner Chesney said in the beginning. I think you said something to the effect that, not we're all in this together, but that's kind of how I took it. I took it as, and he also said something behind closed doors that I think it's okay to paraphrase, which is that there might be a perception that the city and the county are not working together. That's not the case. The city and the county work together every single day on a myriad of issues, tons of issues. Public health is one of them. We need to recognize that when we disagree in a public format, that it's good, that that's what's required. And what I'd like to see is a real opportunity to have a real public workshop with everybody so that we could look each other in the eye and say that we all think this is, in the majority, the best way to strengthen public health for Nueces County. I believe that that's possible in the next few weeks, and I'm going to call on the city leadership to accept that challenge and ask them to invite their brethren, city council members from other jurisdictions. We can post this meeting and we can talk about how this would work. We do this for drainage. We do this for infrastructure. We do this for Bob Hall Pier. Why would we do any less for public health? I hope that the spirit of today gives you confidence that we will create a transition in the very near future. But please stop talking withdrawal, because it's like talking divorce. It only hurts the people that you love the most. And we love serving Nueces County. So let's talk about how we're going to make a document that gets you exactly what we need, which is stronger public health and better health outcomes. And the response that we have created, which is one of the strongest in Texas for COVID-19. those are my comments, and
May I make one more, Judge?
absolutely.
Thank you. Just in not in the form of any kind of argumentative, but I want to make sure that, because your comments could set out a belief that we're not working really, really hard to take care of the employees, and I think that, I don't think you meant to do that, but I think, and if you did, then I definitely want to say that's not the case, because I can tell you that's been the area probably that I've spent the most amount of time on, and I've spent ad nauseum amount of hours on this, trying to figure out what's best and do what's best. And I've said all along that making sure that the public that we serve is first and foremost, but right behind that is making sure that the employees that serve them are also taken care of. And I believe the city believes that too. I think that, without going too far into it, that is some of the suggested language change that we're making to the city. Again, not trying to give away, points, but the city has been extremely responsive every time we've made suggestions on how to better help the employees. I believe they will continue to be responsive to us, and that is one of the most important things this court is working on. So I don't want anybody to listen to any of the comments, the employees listen to any of the comments and feel like, oh my gosh, they're not taking care of us. We're working really hard on this, and that is not something that we're going to let hang out there. But I appreciate the acknowledgement, Judge, and even with the acknowledgement, I appreciate the opportunity that you're right to vote no based on your beliefs. I don't share every one of them, just like you don't share every one of mine. That's why we're here to do that. But I do believe this is a positive step in the right direction by supporting this. I believe it puts the ball back in the city's court, and if they don't think it's reasonable, then we have to go a whole different direction and we have to move on. But I'm going to do everything I can, because I really believe that if everyone takes the personalities out, the drama out, the rhetoric out, that what's best for this community is for this district to remain intact and for the city of Corpus Christi to run it. Devil's in the details. I've said that 100 times too, but that's what I believe. That's what I believe strongly, and that's what I believe this motion today signifies, and I hope that that's how the city will take it, and I hope that the city will continue in the vein that I think they have, which is to try to do the same thing, as to work for the best of everybody. So thank you very much for the opportunity to say that.
I mean, I just want to reiterate that, again, this is a good process. It allows us all to, have dialogue, but I'm going to reiterate it again. We need to do better. And in doing better, we have an obligation or responsibility to make sure the words live up to what our sentiment is. I do not question any of us here with regards to our sentiment to provide stronger health for our community. The concern that I have is that there's no guarantees in the framework that I see here. And again, a guarantee is a really hard thing to come by these days. Not even your washing machine comes with a darn good warranty anymore. But I want us to value the concept that we have a lot more work to do here, so that we can get to that point that Commissioner Chesney just articulated, that we are working very hard for our employees. But I have a higher standard than working very hard. I want to make sure the outcome is the right outcome. It's not about how hard you work. It's about what result you can provide. And that is why I want to see more. The contract is yet to come. The framework gives an impression, and I cannot look myself in the mirror and look at this document and think this is the best we can do. But we have given lots of guidance, and we, live to die another day. There's a lot of language here that gives us the opportunity to continue to go back and forth. So I need to make certain that everybody understands that my no vote is because I do not think that this is the best we can do. I'm certain that we can do better, and I challenge all of us in both sides, the city and the county, to get a document that more accurately reflects what you say. If you believe it and you mean it, then write it. Write it down, what those services are going to be. Let's talk about the specifics of the clinic. And while we both agree, at least Chesney and I, that the best document is yet to be written, this framework can give an impression that this is all there is. And I learned a long time ago, you do not contract for marriage, you contract for divorce. We don't want to go through this again. This document needs to be a good document with a good framework that we can count on for our future. Not one that we're arguing about 180 days later because we decided that we had an out clause. That's not in the spirit of what we're doing here. So if you believe in better health outcomes, then show it by writing it and by delivering a real plan that we've yet to see. That is why I vote no. But again, I thank my court for allowing the opportunity to really to have a lot of good guidance here, and we'll see where we are. We may have to have another meeting very soon. And again, I am calling right now on all jurisdictions to come forward and meet. We meet for everything else. Public health demands that we meet again within jurisdictions to decide if this document that we prepare for our future is good enough. With that, we'll get on with the business of the vote, and we'll stand ready to see you guys. We have another meeting on Friday.
And Jenny, once
The
you.
quick meeting.
Once you present and get the response back, I'm sure you'll circulate it to us. And again, I did want to add that too.
Absolutely.
I present all of the stuff you've done and appreciate you continuing to do that.
We have another meeting on Friday. It does not have to do with health. It has to do with our redistricting process. And so we'll see you guys back here on Friday morning. It shouldn't be a tremendously long meeting, but it will be posted at, forgive me, is it 9:30? It's 9:30 a.m. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No. I will ask if there's any other business. We didn't post adjournments in memory, did we, today? I don't think we did. So we'll stand, we did. Does anybody have any? Anybody have any?
I did not bring them, sorry.
Okay. All right, in that case, with no adjournments in memory, it's 12:37 PM, and we will stand adjourned.